Welcome to the Raise podcast. I'm Carol Barwick. We're here to raise your confidence and inspire your creativity. Each episode, we will have a different guest who will be discussing our Raise word. The Raise word is a word that will encourage you or empower you and at times inspire you to explore the word a little more for yourself. Well, hello everybody and welcome to the Raise podcast. I'm Carol Barwick. We're having a great season 3 so far, and the word that we're going to look at today is going to be a really powerful one, I think. We're going to be talking to creative mentor Paula Burns all about the word courage. Hi Paula, how are you doing?
Hi Carol, I am great, feeling wonderful and feeling great to be part of your podcast. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for doing this. So Paula, before we dive into everything that you do and you are, tell me, what does the word courage mean to you?
Courage for me is a big word. So a lot of people talk about confidence, being brave. I feel like courage is bigger than those words. It is when you are ready to step into a bigger space. You're ready to make bigger choices, and you're just ready to show up.
Wow. Okay, that's great. Well, that is actually was going to be one of my questions later on. So let's have a little look at that now then, because I think people think that courage and bravery are quite similar. So what is it about it that makes you say that courage is kind of even bigger and more powerful than bravery?
I think the word in itself has so much power about it. I mean, if you use that word instead of saying, oh, I want to be brave, and you use the word courage, I'm sure most people would agree that it feels bigger than saying, I want to be brave. If you say more like, I want to be courageous, it means that, I'm going to step into this bigger space that I've never stepped into before. And so bravery to me feels more like something you do every day. So I'd just be brave to, maybe talk to someone, brave to do something a little bit different. But when I'm saying that I'm going to be courageous and I'm going to have courage, it means that I am going to take a big leap of faith.
Yeah, I love that. I think, I wonder if bravery is almost like a short-term thing, because it takes bravery to for a fireman to go into the situation where the fire is and get the people out, but it takes courage to be a fireman in the first place.
Yes.
So I think, I think what you said about it being such a big word is exciting, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that is all going to kind of unpack as we talk during this episode. Tell us a little bit about your journey, Paula, and what you do for people, because you do some fantastic things.
Well, my journey is quite a bit of a journey, actually. As you said, I'm a creative business mentor. So basically what I do is I help business owners to, step out of the norm and find creative ways to show up and be noticed as an individual and with their business. So I have this knack of being able to look at someone's business or talk to them about the challenges that they're facing, and then come up with unique things that they could do that they possibly never thought about. And it's not the general stuff that, you hear a lot about in business, and people say, yeah, you need to show up regularly, you need to be consistent, you need to do all of those things, which is absolutely true. Yeah. But how can you do something that is completely different from everybody else, but still aligns with you? Because I think that's very, very important. I always want to, with all of my clients, I always want to find out the type of person they are. What do they believe in? What do they love? What are they passionate about? And then, starting with them, then we can come up with an amazing idea and solution linked to that, but different from everyone else, because it just has to be different if you're aligning it with yourself. So yeah, that's what I do as a creative business mentor. But I started out my whole business life as a wedding planner, venue stylist, special event, and I still do that at the moment. But what I found is I've now split my time now over between the weddings and events and the mentoring, and I feel like I'm moving more into the mentoring side now, because I feel absolutely so passionate about it and really fulfilled when I do it. So and not that I don't feel fulfilled when I'm doing weddings and events, but it's just like a transition. It's more of a transition for me. Yeah, absolutely love it.
And how did you find the whole events planning and that kind of situation through COVID? Because that must have changed things for you quite a lot and forced your hand a little bit on
it absolutely did. Before COVID, I was already dabbling in the business mentoring side, because it was something that I knew that I wanted to get involved in more. But definitely once COVID hit, it pushed me to create and develop my packages more, and to move more into that space. So yeah, everything stopped. Everything came to a standstill in terms of weddings and events. What I did with that business as well is I then created a lot of online support for weddings and events. So a lot of the time before COVID, my time was spent on the job. So you know, setting up, being there in person, you know, managing all of that, which I said I still do, but obviously more limited now. But now I offer more online support services, so people can sort of just connect with me. I can give them the right direction and they should be going in terms of, you know, planning their event or their wedding, the questions they should be asking, you know, the way they need to think about all the logistics for their day, all of those things that I can share with them, but I can do that online.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something that happened during COVID, was that people had to change the way that they were doing things, and that online presence became so much more important than the physical presence. And even though that physical presence is now back and as important, being able to use your time in a more constructive way and do things online as opposed to in person where appropriate, I think has been important for so many people.
Yeah, I feel with all of the tools that we have now, you know, those are even more available for us now since COVID. There's all these online tools that we can use. And even, you know, like we're chatting to each other here, we can still see each other. You know, I can still sort of like support people, and we can connect without actually physically being there. So yeah, but it still works really well.
Yeah, I love the way that you're still using your events planning, because you're doing these lovely retreats as part of your creative mentoring. And I loved looking at all the photos of happy ladies being kind of looked after for their business needs as well as their physical needs. Tell us a little bit about those retreats and how they work.
Well, do you know what? That's like a passion for me, that I saw the opportunity, and I first of all found the location, and I just thought, and the house that I ran retreats in, and it just felt right, like the right space to have women come together and reconnect with themselves, reconnect with their journey and their life and what they wanted to do in their lives. And so yes, I've run a few retreats over the past couple of years. I've suspended that for a little bit now, because I'm looking at how I'm going to sort of maybe restrict them slightly different and a new venue. But yeah, I'm the sort of person that I feel like things find me. And I think when the time is right, it will find you. And it found me. Running these retreats is something I definitely want to keep doing. And keeping them quite small as well, you know, minimum, the maximum number is probably about 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And it gives me a chance really to connect with the ladies there, and give them a chance to have some quiet time. So it includes quiet time, it includes reflection, it includes time in the hot tub, it includes walks, workshops and creative workshops that I run as well. And so, yeah, they've just been really successful. I've loved doing them. And so have the ladies who have come along.
Yeah. Yeah, it's lovely. I've always loved looking at those pictures, and they always look really inspiring. So I'm glad you're looking at, still doing it, but restructuring it a little bit. It's always good, isn't it? Paula, in terms of all the things that you do, where do you think courage has come into it most for you?
Oh, well, the very beginning when I started my business, because I came from a corporate background. So, or even if I go back further than that, I was just always a very, very quiet child. I, just spent so much time in my own company. People don't believe that now, because they think, oh my gosh, you're so confident, you're always out there. I honestly, this wasn't me when I was growing up and in my teenage years, even in my 20s. And it's definitely been a journey. So for me to step into a space where I'm more seen, where I live in my truth, and sharing that with other people and inspiring other people. So that's taking courage, but it's been courage over little steps. Yeah. So also, I always like to share that with people, that it doesn't happen overnight. You don't all of a sudden wake up and think, oh, I'm really brave, or I'm confident, or I've got lots of courage now, I'm just going to go out and do everything. It is a step-by-step process. And again, all the mentoring that I offer and the programs that I offer is working through those steps. But yeah, the courage I took then to leave my full-time job, and which was a very well-paid full-time job with bonuses and shares and all of that. Yeah. But I knew that I was at that place where I had to live my truth. I had to do something that was more me, which was to do with being creative and connecting more with people and using my brain. Yeah. I love the fact that I can use my brain and generate ideas and do things. And so that was a big step for me. And then throughout the years, I've been in business for 18 years now, and I feel like every single year I have to have new courage, because I'm looking at what's the next step, what's the next thing to do, well, how can I put more meat on the bones, so to speak, and not necessarily just be more busy, because I don't think it's about just being busy, it's about being productive as well. So yeah, and I still have my times when I'm not courageous, so despite what people might think, there are still things that I still sort of stop and think about. Oh, can I do that? Can I achieve that? Should I step out and do that? And so, my word for this year is courage, because I want to be bigger. I want to be better. I want to take bigger steps.
I think one of the things, particularly in the small business world, and it seems more with women, although I guess that's who I kind of work with and come across the most, is this imposter syndrome, and how can I do it? Why should I be doing it? Why me rather than them? And I think that's where it takes a lot of courage, doesn't it, to step out and say, well, people might be doing this already, but I know that I'm bringing something new to the table. And I need to see whether it's actually going to work or not. I think that can be a really hard thing, can't it? What I love particularly about your branding group is you often get us to look at kind of adverts and what works and what doesn't work. How did that all come into your kind of life sphere, as it were? What brought you into being interested in that kind of side of it?
I was always interested in marketing. I did my MBA while I was in my early 30s, and I specialized in marketing. And I just think it's so clever that you can manipulate how somebody feels just through an image, through your language, through phrases. It's just so fascinating. And I take it one step further and I think about being entertained as well, because I think it's so clever when people can do that, but they can also entertain you.
Yeah.
And I love the entertainment side because I've always been like, involved in like entertainment as well. So yeah, that's why I love looking at things like that. I just, I'll see like a really clever advert and I think that is so clever.
Yeah.
Why, the opposite. And I like to dissect it then.
Yeah, because that used to be one of your features, didn't it? I can't remember exactly what it was, but you used to encourage us to look at adverts and say why it works, or put an advert on and then say, what do you think this is?
What do you think about it? Yeah.
And I love that. And still now, when I look at an advert, I'll think, I wonder what Paula would think of this advert.
Yeah, put it in the group if you see that. If you see it, share it.
I think the whole world of advertising and branding is fascinating because it's about putting you out there, isn't it? And the number of different ways that we can put ourselves out there. Now, obviously, I'm not a bottle of tomato ketchup, neither am I a pair of trainers, but somebody has gone through all the process of creating the bottle of ketchup, deciding it's in a glass bottle rather than a plastic bottle, and that it's going to be, a Heinz product, and there's so much behind it. Yeah. And that's no different for us.
No, not at all. And I think that gets missed by business owners, especially female small business owners. They forget that it's the detail.
Yeah.
Don't forget the detail of what it is that you offer. Even if you think it's something really small, it's something, and it's, if it's something quirky about you, is it something quirky about what you offer? How can you incorporate that in your business? It's not about, I think a lot of the times we think, well, how can we make ourselves smaller? And it's not about making yourself smaller. It's about making yourself bigger.
Yeah. But that's definitely where the courage comes in, isn't it, Paula? Because as I said earlier, it's about looking at the myriad of people out there doing the same thing as you and saying, no, I know I can do this differently. Maybe better, but sometimes that doesn't matter so much, but differently, I can reach a different market.
Yeah.
But everybody else seems to be doing it the same and it's working for them. So why should
they
I do?
Yeah.
And I think that's where the courage comes in.
It does. And again, I think that's why I bring something else to the table in terms of how I mentor, because it is okay. You might be in that arena where everybody's doing something similar, but how can you tweak yours that it's slightly different?
Yeah.
Very similar to when I went out and I ran the 30-day wedding fair. Well, everybody in my arena was people who were in events. They were going to wedding fairs. They were on a Sunday, one day a week. They were in a hotel. They were the couples felt rushed. It was like a one-day event. If they couldn't go, they'd miss it. There was all of these things around it. And I thought, what can I do differently? And the 30-day wedding fair was born. I saw a fantastic shop that I took over. And again, that's a big thing for courage as well, because I think what a lot of people feel is that they have to jump through hoops for anything that's looks a little bit different and bigger.
Yeah.
But you never know once you start asking the questions, because I started asking the questions. I saw the shop. I asked the questions from the management body that looked after that shop. And I said, can I run these events? Can I have it for a month? And I suggested an amount to pay them. And it wasn't like I had to write some big proposal or anything. They loved the idea because the shop was empty and they just wanted to have something different. So I think we put our own barriers in the way sometimes, where we think it's going to be really hard, so we don't bother. And and after I ran that first run, other people saw it at the shop, said, do you want to run one here? And that's what happens.
That's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. I mean, I think one of the things I always find so interesting is when, you know, people, again, particularly women, because that's our arena, are in business groups and they say, I've got this new product and you know, what should I do with it? How do I make it different? And I always say, what's your USP? And people don't know what
They don't.
a USP is, a unique selling point. And when you have that, it just makes you stand out. It does, because it gives you literally, doesn't it? It's that you in unique. And again, it takes courage to do it differently. And that whole thinking outside of the box might be very on trend, but actually it's just flipping hard work.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a buzzword. It's a buzz phrase, isn't it? People go, think outside the box.
Yeah.
But you know, if you're not that way inclined, you're not going to think, you're going to think, well, how can I think outside the box?
Yeah.
You know, what else is different? What could I do that's different? You know, so and sometimes we're just too close to it. That's fine.
Yeah. And so that's why someone like you is perfect, because then you come along and say, right, okay, well, what does your box look like at the moment? And maybe we can just paper the outside of the box if that's a bit scary to be completely outside of it.
Exactly. You could just do that. And I mean, that's where my creative blitz sessions come in. You know, you have an hour session with me and we just dissect, you know, where you are, what your challenges are, and then you leave that session with a whole load of ideas that you can implement straight away, you know, so and key ones that you can implement straight away as well.
Yeah. It's been brilliant to talk to Paula today about courage. We talked a lot about advertising in this episode too, and you know that we create jingles for your small business or podcast. So if you'd like that, do get in touch with us and we'll look forward to working with you. Back to the episode. So we talked a lot about the business world, obviously, because we are both very firmly in it. But where else do you see the need for courage showing up in life at the moment for you?
It's in the personal stuff that you do every day and things that you aspire to do. I mean, for me, I love to travel.
Yeah.
I love going to new places. I also love people. So I love to be around people that make me feel good, have got the same energy as me. But for some reason, I'm not sure what it is, but I really feel this pull to travel somewhere on my own. And I've traveled on my own before, in terms of I've flown on my own and I've gone somewhere, but I've always been meeting somebody there.
Yeah.
And so for me, I just want to do this thing where I just get on a plane or go somewhere and travel on my own and do stuff on my own, you know, explore or whatever. But yeah, I don't know what it is. It's just this need in me, but I feel that I need that courage to do it because I've never done it before.
So going one step further, then, what would it take to actually do it?
I feel like I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it this year because it's something that it was a key thing that was part of my courage journey that I wanted to do. And I think it's just a case of, for me, it's a case of saying, this is something I want to do. And I know I'm going to be just so proud of myself when I do it. So it's not like I think, oh, I won't do it. I'm just too scared. I don't have the courage. I know I'm going to do it.
That's exciting. So it's about putting those steps in place, isn't it? When you were talking about the 30-day wedding fair and the fact that you went to the shop, asked the questions, found out what the market were already doing and that kind of thing. So yeah, I think putting those kind of initial steps in place helps give you a bit of courage, doesn't it? One of my favorite words is encourage. And I love to think of that word as literally putting courage into other people. And I wonder what kind of encouragement it would take from others to kind of light that fire within you to do something different.
Yeah, I think it's because I think what's already lit the fire is the fact that I've seen other people do it, and I love looking at their stories. I fill myself with these stories of people who have done it, and they're out there and they're just, you know, exploring the world, and it just gives me that feeling that I want to do that. And so, yeah, they're inadvertently encouraging me to do it. But yeah, I think the more I see that, one of my favorite films is Eat, Pray, Love.
Yeah.
And I just love the fact that she just went off and traveled. I think that was one of the first times that I felt that pull.
Yes.
And every time I see something that's similar, I just feel so emotional. I really don't know what it is. I just feel like I need that time. I mean, I don't mind my own space, so I'm happy to be in my own space. You know, in general, I can be alone. I'm not somebody who needs to have lots of people with me, but I feel like it's going to be an even more special experience if I'm exploring somewhere new on my own.
It allows for that kind of almost spiritual guidance, doesn't it?
Yeah,
to really listen to the inner voice and do whatever that is speaking to you at the time. And I think that it does take courage to listen to that, but also that it can be really exciting, can't it? That you need your own space.
I know. It's maybe that thing where you're not waiting for the group or the people who are with you to say, oh, let's do this or let's do that. It's like, I can do my research and think, I'm just going to go and visit here or visit there. And then I'm just going to talk to people while I'm there. And, you know, it's that freedom. I hear people, they're very liberated when they go off and do this.
Yeah, we had a brilliant Vanessa Ferrero on our very first episode of season 3 talking about adventure and the fact that she went from being a lady who's married and living in Bradford to now being on her own on a mountain in Colombia, having built her own house. And just the incredible courage that it took, but also the encouragement that she got from people like her ex-husband and friends who knew that she had a different path, that she just had to follow.
Had to follow it,
And but I mean, you know, the amazing thing about that is, you know, she could have just said, well no, oh, you know, that's a bit difficult to go to Colombia.
I know, and it's that, you know, I've come to realize that, oh my gosh, life isn't a rehearsal, you know, and for you to say, oh no, I'm not going to bother, I'm just going to keep doing the same thing I've always done, it just leaves that void. You just can't. I mean, when you get to that place where you're ready, you're just ready and you have to do it.
Yeah. I wonder how much COVID had an effect, both positive and negative, on those people that were really wanting to do something different and new with their lives, because we all had so much space to think about it. And also someone like my husband, who travels globally, everything was completely shut down for him. So he went from going to loads of different countries every year to being at home completely. And you could see that yearning in him to just be able to go to different places again, and now he's back able to do it. But there will be people that, you know, had that need, that will now just be going and doing it, because we don't ever want that kind of barrier again,
that restriction again. Exactly.
But conversely, there will be people that had that desire who now have a real fear and lack of confidence in traveling anywhere, let alone traveling alone. And the courage that takes sometimes for people now to even leave their house on their own. And as you said at the top of the podcast, courage is a really big word, isn't it?
It really is. It really is.
Where do you see your courage taking you in the future, aside from going and traveling on your own, which we'll be excitedly watching? Literally your journey.
Definitely. I'll be sharing it in my stories, and then
Yeah, you will. So will we.
So my courage, where do I see it taking me? I feel like eventually something I would love to do is to be able to travel but still work from anywhere, and be in a hot country during the winter time. So yeah, the winter I don't do very well with cold weather, and sunshine is just my happy place.
Yeah.
So ideally that's what I'd love to be able to do, is to be in a position where I can sort of be somewhere for 3, maybe 4 months of the year during the winter, still be, you know, running my business from wherever I am, and so I can still take advantage of being in the sunshine.
Yeah, the sunshine is a lovely thing, isn't it? If that's what you enjoy. I find that I do a really lovely well-being session, and the teacher always talks about, when we do our relaxation time, having the warmth of the sunshine on your face, but just the right temperature, because otherwise, you know, you're lying there thinking, I'm going to burn. Not so relaxing.
And just really, you know, having the people around me that like me out. I think, you know, just being around my special people, friends, family, and, you know, having the freedom to live.
Yeah. Which again can really take courage, can't it, to live the way that you want to. And we talked earlier about, you know, the voices of other people. I wonder how much that has impacted you in terms of either feeling encouraged or maybe discouraged. How do you?
I think sometimes what can happen is that no one else knows the journey that you're going on.
Yeah.
No one else knows how you feel inside, the emotions you're feeling, you know, the things you want to be courageous about, what means a lot to you. So I feel like, you know, people around you can give their advice, which is great. But, you know, at the same time, they not always can understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes it can be like really great encouragement, and then there's other times when you find yourself trying to explain, you know, I'm you know, trying to explain who you are as an individual and why you want to do certain things. Yeah, so I think, you know, it's a case of being so clear about who you are as an individual that you can explain to a certain extent, but then you have to just believe. You have to believe in your inner voice, in your heart, in your soul, and move forward with that. And that's the big courage, really, because if very few people get you and want to come along for the ride, it can be quite lonely. But you have to have the courage to think, do you know what? I know this is my path. I know this is what I need to do. And once you move into that space, you will see the difference it makes in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the difficult thing about being a pioneer, isn't it? Because you do something that is so totally different to what other people are doing. And it's hard to find other people that are doing the same things as you. So then you either need to align yourself with other pioneers who are also doing completely different things, but in the same way, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
Or you have to really allow that inner voice to be your anchor. And whether that inner voice is God for you or is yourself, it is that belief that you talked about, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
And that can be hard when you get, you know, kind of swayed and tossed around. It's hard to maybe trust in that. But again, I guess that's where the courage comes in. There's a wonderful song that Ed Sheeran's done at the moment about The waves won't break my boat. Have you heard it?
Oh, I haven't heard that. I love his songs.
Yeah, it's a wonderful one, and it's basically about being on the storm, but he's saying about the waves, they won't break my boat. And I think
look into that one.
Yeah, it's again, it takes a certain amount of courage, because it almost feels a little bit like you're saying, bring it on then, let's have the storm. I'm telling you, it's not going to break my boat. And there's always something that's going, really? It sounds like a challenge to me. Let's see if we can break your boat this way.
Yeah, whenever you say you're gonna have courage to do something, there's always something that comes in the way and tries to stop you. So
yeah. What do you do in those situations when you feel the waves coming?
Refocus.
Yeah.
Stop, be still, say a prayer.
Yeah.
Listen to the inner voice. Because it could be that I'm slightly going off course.
Yeah.
Or it could be that, this is the right thing, and you'll feel it. If you listen to that inner voice, it always tells you what to do.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, because it could be the lighthouse, couldn't it? Or it could be the rocks. You have to kind of, that, I think you're absolutely right, that stopping and that stillness allows you to just take a moment to look around and think, right, is this trying to save me, or is it trying to drag me under?
Exactly. And so, I tend to, now I've got to the place in my life where if something doesn't work out, I understand that it means that it wasn't meant for me, rather than going, oh, I wonder why, what did I do wrong? Why should I have done this? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I feel if something is meant for you, you will have it.
Yeah.
If it's not meant for you, then, don't try and fight to have it.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's understanding the difference, because obviously sometimes some situations can be challenging and you have to fight, you have to be strong, and you have to work your way through it. But then, there comes a time when you have to realize whether, you know what, that thing, it's out of my control now. I have to let go and let God.
Yeah.
And if it's not for me, I won't have it. And if it is for me, I will. And then be at peace with it.
Yeah.
That's the main thing, is being at peace with it and not trying to analyze it and pick it apart and like, oh, maybe I should have done this, or maybe I should have done that. I'm a strong believer that if something's meant to be, it'll happen, even if you did something that you shouldn't have done.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really, really do believe that.
Yeah. There's a real courage in letting go, though, isn't there? And I think, again, for people that run businesses, the courage of letting go is huge, because it's, well, what do I face if I let it go? And obviously in my personal journey, I've seen that so clearly over the last 3 years, that God has literally taken things out of my hands. And the courage to say, right, okay, I still don't think you're telling me to stop completely, but the things I've had to let go in the process. What do you think
how has that made you feel, though, eventually, though, if you've let it go? Have you looked back then and realized, I should have let it,
Thank you for asking. God gave me a prophetic picture from a friend of a rainbow, and instead of the rainbow just being red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, the light, it was like the colors were shining at all different times, because it was so kind of confident in who it was that it just didn't matter at what point the color kind of came. And at the time I was like, no, I'm a rainbow purist, I just want it to look like a rainbow. But I've learned that now what happens is my colors shine at different times, and sometimes they don't shine at all, and that's okay, actually, because the rainbow is still there. I've still been given that structure, but what's changed is I'm not running around trying to give my colors to everybody else and having nothing myself. But that's taken an awful lot of courage to not just try and give out all the time, because my giving was my my identity.
Yeah.
So yeah,
you hear it. I mean, I see that a lot, especially with women. We want to just give and give and give. And even with your business, it's like, did I give enough?
Yeah.
Did I give enough to that customer? Do I have enough in this package that I'm offering for this price?
Yeah.
And it's just over giving and over sharing and over and it's a way of not valuing what
Absolutely.
we actually give. We're not valuing it because we're feeling that we just need to give more and more and more, and you're actually over giving
Yeah.
rather than giving the worth of what you're actually selling it for.
Yeah, because I mean, actually, it takes a lot of courage to say, right, you need to pay me for what I've just done.
Yes,
Took me a long time to realize that
know.
not only was it okay, but that I had to ask people to pay me for what I was doing, because that literally makes me a professional. That is,
I know.
but it's yeah, goodness, I could talk to you for a long time about this. It's been a fantastic conversation, and I am absolutely sure that people will be listening to this, and I'm going to tell people to bring a notebook for this one, Paula, because there's a lot in it.
I love it. I love this conversation with you. It's great because I think we're in a very similar mindset, and so it's good to talk about a topic that is so powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, because in particular, you brought this one to the table, and I appreciate that, because actually the word for the week before was unknown. And so for courage to follow it is exciting, because I think that's often the key to the unknown, isn't it? Having the courage to accept it. So we're about to go off on another one.
I know. We can talk forever.
So 2 things that we always do at the end of the podcast. First of all, we have a challenge. And as I said, I think people will need a notebook. So I'm sure there are so many different challenges in this conversation. But I guess the main question to ask our listeners is, what is it that you need courage for at the moment? And what will the gains be? So what is it in your life that you need courage for? And if you're a small business owner, do you need to get in touch with Paula and talk to her and allow her to bring all this amazing creative wisdom to you? Do you need to talk to a friend about the courage to go away on your own for the first time, or say no to that person that's been telling you that you need to say yes to them for so long? What is it that you need courage for? Paula, have you got anything to add to that challenge?
Well, I think you've covered that, and it is asking that correct question: what do you need courage for? And giving yourself space to answer the question.
Yeah,
I think when you hear that question, just stop and just give yourself some space. If you can't do it straight away, take it away and unpack it, because I feel like we all need courage for something.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's really important. Okay, so the final thing that we always do on the podcast is I always write you a little poem. I know for certain there are no words that rhyme with courage, so I'm going to have to be brave on this one. Just give me a minute. Courage to say no. Courage to go. Space to breathe, to see what's coming next. Identify and then ask why. Why do you need that courage? What is it that's about to come? What are you running from? What do you need to run to? Is it about just being you? Or maybe who? Look around, listen to sounds, make sure that the rocks that are dragging you under aren't really a lighthouse that are wanting to protect. Reflect. Be aware of the fact that the world needs you, and take courage. There you go.
Beautiful.
There are some dodgy words in there.
I didn't hear any dodgy.
Thank you. I always say that those poems are just because the guest inspires me so much, and there was so much packed into our episode. So thank you.
Thank you.